Hi, I'm STS-130 Flight Engineer Steve Robinson, and you're watching NASA TV.
Good morning, Endeavor, and a special good morning to you today, Steve.
Good morning, Houston. Now that's wake-up music. Delbert McClinton. Good, great music to wake up by, and thanks to all the good folks on the ground who working so hard to get us here. And I'd like to share that song with our good team that is helping us with their transfer and stowage. They work really hard behind the scenes to get all the things that we need to take over the station and bring back all arranged for us. And anyway, it's a great day to do an EVA and to transfer a whole bunch of stuff.
And Endeavor, we agree with you, Steve, wholeheartedly.
The wake-up call to kick off Flight Day 7 for the astronauts on board Space Shuttle Endeavour. Song Too Much Stuff by Delbert McClinton, played for Mission Specialist Steve Robinson. He'll be pulling his second shift as intravehicular crew member today for the second spacewalk of the flight. Bob Benken and Nick Patrick, who are awakened in the Quest airlock, will be working toward a start of their second EVA in 3 days, heading out the door at 8:09 tonight to continue the hookups of the Tranquility module to the International Space Station. This is a look at Tranquility and one of its radial docking ports at the axial port on the end where cupola is currently located. This morning, the crew members had difficulty installing what's known as a center disk cover along the docking interface inside because the brackets that hold that cover in place were blocked from being fully engaged by some other hardware inside the cupola. Looking over the shoulder of Station Commander Jeff Williams as the hatch into the Quest airlock is now being closed. Spacewalkers Bob Benken and Nick Patrick back in the airlock, now accompanied by Shuttle Commander George Zamka and Flight Engineer TJ Creamer, who will be assisting them in continued preparations for their spacewalk.
With a checklist completed with George Zamka, commander of Endeavour, assisting, making sure that the suits are okay. The two astronauts now ready to head outside. He's handed them off to astronaut Steve Robinson, a veteran astronaut and spacewalker who will choreograph their EVA from the flight deck of Endeavour. He's serving as the flight engineer throughout Endeavour's mission. He's also serving as the intravehicular crew member as the crew members now begin tonight's spacewalk. The official start time, 8:20 p.m. Central Time.
Okay, Steve.
Bob Benken, the first crew member out of the hatch. He's wearing a spacesuit with a red stripe around the upper portion of the suit legs.
Ready to...
And Nick Patrick now out of the hatch. He will be distinguishable by his suit with no markings on it. So the two astronauts now out will soon be translating over the top of the airlock, Node 1, which is named Unity, over to Tranquility, the newest component of the International Space Station delivered on this mission. This is Mission Control Houston. While the spacewalk is just getting underway on the outside of the International Space Station, a number of activities going on inside. Particularly, you heard just the tail end of a conversation between Station Commander Jeff Williams and the Station Flight Control team. He's been given a go to remove some non-captive bolts which have been identified as being an interference with a installation of a protective cover, a thermal cover that's required to be in place before the cupola is relocated, which is scheduled for Sunday evening. So he's off, headed to the Tranquility node to at least remove a couple of those bolts. He identified 8 initially. The ground has given him a go to remove 2 of those bolts to see if that might provide enough clearance for installation of that thermal cover.
Copy that. I'm on my way.
For identification purposes with the close-up and personal helmet cameras, the silhouette number 16 in the lower right corner will signify the helmet camera for astronaut Bob Behnken, and the number 18 will signify the helmet cam for Nick Patrick throughout tonight's spacewalk. And you can see Behnken translating all of the movements are handled by hand, and the looking at the interface between the airlock and Unity, the first node launched to begin the assembly of the International Space Station. You saw a brief glimpse there, and now the in the far distance, Space Shuttle Endeavour, the tail of the orbiter, as it is docked to the far end of the U.S. segment of the International Space Station. And this, the helmet cam of Nick Patrick as he begins his translation path as well, opposite Bob Behnken. They'll meet together over at the interface between the Unity module and the Tranquility node.
Okay, Steve, I'm at node 3, handrail 619. Copy, easy one. Okay, the crew lock bag is readied to handrail 619. Okay, Bob, and next for you is to head over to the MLI side and start the capsule maneuvers. Roger that.
This is a good opportunity to see the size of the International Space Station relative to the spacewalkers. That's just one module that Nick Patrick just translated across a grapple fixture. The far distance in the lower right is the Russian segment of the International Space Station. Their first task is to basically lay out some what's known as MLI, multi-layer insulation. That insulation will be used to wrap around the ammonia lines once they are installed. So the first task is to basically set the stage for the insulation. So they'll be laying that out ahead of the actual installation of the ammonia lines.
Comes that last fold, Bob. Okay. Bob, how's that?
Okay, I think that's good for now. Okay. I have to tell you that the MLI is staying in the bag very nicely, fold by fold. That's great. Nick, what do you think about opening up this MLI just a little bit? I think it's a great idea, Bob. Be able to capture the line. Yeah, sobering. Okay, Steve, I think we've decided to leave that gap spanner as is for now.
Okay, good job. That was smooth, and it's time to bring out the jumpers.
Roger that, Steve. Okay, Steve, I've got a tether on the lab end of jumper 1. The cap, sorry, on the lab end of jumper 1. I will remove it.
Copy that.
Okay, the cap is removed on the lab end of jumper 1.
Sounds good. 450 knots.
Okay, and Nick, before you go any further that direction, can you just maintain security of that end of the jumper so that I can kind of route it a little bit? Just it's a little bit unwieldy here with its size. I see that. So okay, I've got my end of it, and I'm just going to get myself relocated down here, and I'll get my end onto a fish stringer. Great. The adjustable is on 111, and the line 1 is behind gap spanner Gamma.
Ah, that's great. Okay. Well, it's basically same thing all over again on line number 2.
Roger.
This view up close and personal with the helmet camera of Bob Benkin as he's installing insulation around the quick disconnect after the line has been installed on the newest module Tranquility node.
How you doing, Nick?
Well, I'm glad I got nearly going the cap. Cap 1 came off really easily. The cap on M2 requires maximum force from 2 hands. And, okay, I have a small spray of ammonia coming out from under the cap. I've backed away. I do have, ammonia did come in my direction. No more is coming out. I would estimate the total amount to be on the order of 1 cc. I saw some small pieces that just looked like snow. No continuous stream, just flakes is what I saw. Yep, I do not see any that really hit me. It came out in the general direction of my right glove and my visor, but I see none adhering. I believe no more is coming out.
Houston copies.
Okay, Bob, ready on line 2. I'll take your inspection.
Nick Patrick noting a little bit of ammonia coming out of that quick disconnect and when he removed the cap, and that's actually something that is anticipated on the spacewalks that deal with these ammonia lines, and they will do an inspection. They actually prefer for Bob Benkin to come over and do that inspection after they move into a night pass, because the helmet camera lights will actually give him a better reflective view of Nick Patrick's suit, and in particular his visor on his helmet. But as he noted, he does not see any evidence of any ammonia that would be either on his glove or on his helmet visor.
Side loads, made the QD, checking that the forward white band is now visible.
Okay, that's in work, Steve.
Endeavor Houston, we concur with continuing our tasks, and when we get nighttime, and we'll take a inspection with the helmet lights.
That's great news. Copy, Houston.
Bob Benkin has completed the insulation covers on the QDs, or the quick disconnects on those ammonia jumpers. He's now making his way over to the location where Nick Patrick is, so that he can, on this night pass, use the lights on his helmet camera to do a quick inspection of Nick Patrick, particularly his.
So you've got a big black spot on your index finger. That's I can explain that. That's some grease, I think, from the back of the fasteners on the plate that holds the QDs. I can identify it, and I watched it go on my glove, so it's not part of this issue. Right. I'm just trying to. You could stand by just for a second with your movement, so I can try to inspect you. If you could lower your right arm, just want to look at the TMG on the right side. Okay, if you could slowly turn your wrist to the right. And slowly turn it back. And turn it back again towards me. There are some, look at mine. I see that. I see what you're pointing at. Yeah, and it's just an abrasion that's on the TMG. I have a couple that look like that as well. So, yeah. Can you show me the underside of your gauntlet there, the palm side of your hand? Okay, I don't see anything there as well. I don't see anything on the front of your mini workstation. Do you want to drop your mini workstation for me? Absolutely.
And just a reminder, we're looking for any dull white coating or even a waxy-like looking surface.
Okay, and if you could pitch towards your feet, pitch towards your head. And go ahead and drop the mini workstation down there. Okay, I don't see anything on the front of your DCM or on your helmet or on your glove or the gauntlet there. So you looked clean to me. Thank you both. Good news. Do you copy?
Yeah, it sounds like the inspection is a very positive one for you guys.
Okay, Houston, copies, no visible contamination, and we'll start our bakeout clock.
Bob Benkin wrapping up the deployment, the opening of the 4 pedals that make up part of the common berthing mechanism on one of the ports on Tranquility, the Nadir port. This is where the common, or the cupola, will find its permanent home late Sunday night. And Bob Benkin has now installed the cover over the keel pin mounted on the outside of Tranquility.
Netherlands 2-point starboard. Thanks, Bob.
Okay, that's complete then, and I will continue on to the trunnion cover.
All right, we'll see you there at number 3.
Steve, the vent plate cover is removed. I can go to, if I need to swap my socket back. I'm also going to check the O-ring.
And the station flight control team giving the crew the good news that cooling is flowing into the new module Tranquility. The team seeing the temperatures drop in the node, so the ammonia lines obviously working properly.
Roger that. It's locked up.
Next, say again.
Handrail is soft lock, Steve.
Roger. It's unfortunate that the word soft dock sounds so much like dropped off.
Steve, 605, starboard, green light, 4 foot-pounds, 9 turns.
4 foot-pounds, 9 turns, copy.
605 port, green light, 3.7 and 9 turns. We give it a full test. It passes the full test.
Nick, are you thinking there should be a pool floor right about there?
There should be a what, sorry?
The floor of a pool?
Yes. Several very helpful divers to swim me around.
Yeah, we're missing those guys. The NBL folks have done a fantastic job preparing us for this.
Haven't they?
That work is, on their part, really paid off.
It really has. Yeah, they always do a great job of taking such good care of us and struggling through all the way out challenges that sometimes folks have in the pool, and we really appreciate them.
They also do a lot of the training. I think that's sort of a not fully recognized on the outside how much of the training of EVA astronauts are actually done by the divers at the Neutral Buoyancy Lab.
True. Yep. They give us great feedback. Hey, Steve, I am closed and locked onto the D-ring extender.
This is Mission Control Houston. As you can see, the spacewalkers moving back into the Quest airlock. Mission Specialist Nicholas Patrick and Bob Bacon having finished all their tasks on this spacewalk, despite coming in a little early to make sure that they have plenty of time to deal with safety procedures as a result of possible contamination of ammonia on Mission Specialist Nicholas Patrick's spacesuit. The crew is 5 hours and 26 minutes into today's spacewalk, scheduled to be 6.5 hours, but despite the shortened amount of time they were staying out, again, were able to get all of their tasks completed. Commander Jeff Williams there reporting on the work that he's been doing to get the cover of a protective cover for the hatch on the Tranquility node that will be left exposed after cupola is relocated. He's been working to get that installed after some problems that crew ran into yesterday with some structural interferences. And as you heard, he was able to get that installed this time. Had to vary from the procedure that the ground came up with a little bit, but believes that everything should be ready for the transfer of the cupola later in the mission. Williams here giving the team on the ground a closer look at the work that he's been doing today so they can inspect everything from here in Houston and make sure everything looks good to go. You're seeing the feed of Bob Bacon come into view here as George Zamka and TJ Creamer pull him out of the equipment lock of the Quest, along with all the tools that he and Nicholas Patrick took outside during their work today.
Houston Endeavor, just heads up that the entire crew is going to be over at the station for a while.
Copy, Steve. Thanks for letting us know.
You bet.
Zamka here removing Benken's SAFER, which is the simplified aid for EVA rescue, EVA being an acronym for extravehicular activity, or another word for spacewalk. And that would be used as basically a jetpack in the event that the crew came untethered from the International Space Station and needed to get back to it. That's never happened, but they have that backup there just in case.
We're done for now.
Now looking back into the Tranquility node. Mission Specialist Kay Hire getting a few photos of her Commander George Zamka. Or correction, not Zamka, that's actually Mission Specialist Nicholas Patrick. As he enjoys the open space in Tranquility since it doesn't have many of its racks installed yet. Although there's quite a bit of open space in Tranquility at the moment, it should be soon filled up now that an extra day has been added to the STS-130 mission for the crew to give the station crew some help getting the environmental life support equipment added into Tranquility's open rack space. Tranquility has space for a total of 8 of the racks of equipment that the station uses to organize hardware into.
This is what happens when you turn a rotating machine on in space. It spins around a little bit. We're just getting suited up here for EVA number 2, where we have to deal with the ammonia lines and the MLI that goes around them. There's Bob, EV1, ready to go, and George Zamka in the middle, our mission commander, who's in charge of the suit up today, with TJ Creamer on the left of the screen, the ISIS flight engineer. We had a great EVA today, and you can't see our smiles yet, but when we came back in, we were really smiling broadly and very happy. So here's a view from the Russian docking compartment 1, and I'll let Bob and Nick talk about the EVA. You can see the shuttle, the station, and there's the spacewalkers. So you can see me working on a piece of MLI that Nick and I spent a couple hours today trying to wrap around some ammonia lines that eventually provided cooling to Node 3. Last night when we went by Node 3, it was very warm and almost unpleasant to be in because it was so warm. But today, after completing the installation of these lines and the associated MLI, the module is cool and the lights are on, and its activation is going right on schedule. We had some excitement today because some ammonia came out of one of the QD caps on the lab and sprayed on my faceplate. Bob came over and gave me an inspection, and we decided to press ahead with the EVA. I think the guys only let us back onto station after being ammonia contaminated because we'd done them some good by turning on power to Node 3. here's the view. This was lunchtime back in the Russian compartment, the service module. That's Jeff, Williams, and Roman there taking pictures of the Earth. And there's Oleg and TJ in the back of the service module, the very aft end of the space station, having their lunch. Another nice view of the Earth passing over. I think it was Central Asia. There's some mountains there. If I was right, it was near Iran. A lot of snow. It's been, I think, a very snowy and cold year this year on Earth. Everywhere we go, there seems to be snow. Here's some of the work that we were doing today. That's Kay transferring some of the items that we brought up in Node 3. There's an awful lot of stuff that we were able to bring up, which helps the space station out a lot with their supplies. And we're passing them in between modules there. At the time, it was dark in the node, and you can see how dark it is compared to the rest of the station. This is the ARED machine, the machine that the space station crew uses for exercise. It's like a weightlifting machine, and that has been relocated now into Node 3. And there's Bob Benkin out the window in Node 3. It was fun. We were there working, and Kay said, "Hey, there's Bob out there." So we looked out, and there he was. We could hear them knocking around all day because they were working right underneath us where we were doing our work. Here's George Zamka coming into Node 3. One of the fun things about Node 3 is it's so big you can put yourself in the middle and let go, and you just float there. You can't even reach any of the walls. This was Jeff and I today troubleshooting the cupola, trying to help out with the clearance between a cover that we have to put in there and the cupola structure itself in the station, so that we want to make sure that when we unattach it and then reattach it in a different location, it doesn't bump in too much. And Jeff and I were in there working upside down. It's very nice to be able to float when you work, because one guy can take one side, and the other guy can take the other side, and there's no interference because there's no up and there's no down. Those are some of the new stowage platforms that we had. They're empty now. A few hours before, they were full of stuff, and Kay had been taking all the stuff and stowing it, and now here we are removing those platforms and then stowing them out of the way so that we can move some of the other life support racks into those locations. Oleg was down there helping us out, and I was there, and Kay was there. Gucci Noguchi was down there all day today, too. And there's Stevie Ray. We decided to wear bright shirts today. demonstrating how you could just float in the middle there. We were doing pull-ups here. We needed some exercise, so we were doing pull-ups, doing push-ups later on. And there's a few push-ups. So this is Bob and Nick when they had first come back in from their spacewalk and they just got out of their suits. George and TJ were in there for hours helping them get in and doing all the post-spacewalk procedures that they need to do.